What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the history of Fortnite's Halloween event, or Fortnitemares, in Battle Royale. I'm going to be going over what changed as far as the gameplay is concerned every year in Fortnite's Halloween event. Fortnitemares 2023 is going to be starting tomorrow as of the time I'm posting this video, so I thought it'd be interesting to kind of look back at the previous years, talk about what changed, and kind of how the event has changed over the several years that Fortnite has been out. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below which Fortnitemares was your favorite or which one you think looks the best if this year's is going to be your first. So I'm going to be going over the gameplay specific changes. There's probably going to be a lot of like minor details I miss, or like skins that I miss. If I went over every Halloween skin that was added like year by year, that would take quite some time. So I'm just going to focus on like the main gameplay changes in this video. 2017 was the first Fortnitemares, and this one was actually very basic compared to like future years. And that's probably because this was less than a month after the launch of Battle Royale. Fortnite Battle Royale dropped like late September 2017. So there wasn't long into the game before we got, our first Fortnitemares. The event was super basic, but it was still like very exciting at the time, especially for me, because this was like the first ever kind of like live service game I really played. Like Call of Duty had some Halloween events, but it wasn't really on the level of this. At the time, all we really got was Halloween decorations across the map, mainly at like houses or like residential areas. Like Retail Row, I think, got quite a bit. And then the RPG was reskinned into a pumpkin launcher, and we got the first ever Halloween cosmetics like Skull Trooper, Ghoul Trooper, and the Scythe pickaxe. But overall, this event was very basic, and if we got something like this today, people would be outraged, but at the time it was like super exciting and interesting, and that's just kind of how expectations go. 2018 was about a year into Fortnite, and this was going to be Chapter 1, Season 6, and this is one of the craziest Fortnitemares they've ever done. We had the floating island in Season 6. If you guys play now, this is the island that spawns in 4th Zone, but we had the Loot Lake island that was floating on the map during Season 6, and it kind of made a loop or like a lap around the map and then exploded when it got back to the center, and this is what kind of started Fortnitemares and brought in zombies. These zombies would spawn all across the map and just chase you and attack you. They were very aggressive, and they would spawn in like high numbers. And if you eliminated them, you would get a bit of HP back, and I think maybe some loot from some of the bigger ones. Like there was like gold ones that would drop gold loot, but just the sheer amount of zombies that could spawn and like be on you at any given time was super annoying. Especially because it would give your location away, or like, if you're fighting somebody, you have to worry about dealing with the zombies and the person. Just a huge extra inconvenience, and a lot of players didn't like it. Today, people, you have experience dealing with like the raptors or the wolves, and those can be super annoying. Imagine if there was like 20 dinosaurs on you at any given time, and they were like committed to fighting you. That's kind of like how the zombies were. They also did add glider redeploy during this update, probably because the zombies would like break out your builds if you did build up. And you didn't need like an item or an augment for this. It's just everyone had the ability to redeploy their glider whenever they wanted. This was like kind of controversial at the time. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. I was kind of indifferent on it. Like if I broke someone's builds out and then they redeploy right away, it was going to be really easy to beam them anyway. So it wasn't really something that bothered me, and the added mobility was really nice. This update also added the 6-shooter and Fiend Hunter crossbow, which were probably two of the worst weapons ever added in Fortnite. But the crossbow did do bonus damage against the zombies, and it was pretty quiet, which was nice because like you could kill the zombies without making a lot of noise and alerting other players to your like, where you were. But it was like super annoying to get this off spawn as your like first item, and then like the person nearest to you gets like a pump or something, you just automatically know you're going to lose because the crossbow was only good against the zombies. There was a new castle POI added between Pleasant Park and Haunted Hills, which I don't think I ever went to. And there was a lot of decorations around the map, like a Halloween shop at Retail Row or a haunted house at Fatal Fields. And then the RPG was also turned into the pumpkin launcher, like happens like pretty much every year, and started in 2017. There also was a host of Halloween cosmetics, like always, but I'm not going to get into that too much. Overall, 2018 was, I feel like, the first like real Fortnitemares, but a lot of players didn't like it because the zombies were really annoying. There's also fog everywhere on the map, which was pretty annoying. So I think this event, it was a lot of content, and it was definitely a change in the game, but a lot of people didn't like it, and I feel like that kind of shaped the next Fortnitemares, which is going to be 2019. This one was also only a month into Chapter 2 Season 1, kind of like what happened with 2017 when it was only a month into the game. The Black Hole event, I think, was like October 13th, and then this was late October, so it wasn't even a month in. It was super early. And Chapter 2 Season 1 is really known for not getting any updates or any content at all, and this Fortnitemares, is no different. It was very much lacking in content compared to like 2018. Again, that kind of makes sense to me because it was so early in Chapter 2 Season 1 and people hated on the zombies in 2018. The zombies did return in 2019, but it was only on one specific part of the map. The center of the map, which was known as Island, was transformed into the Isle of the Storm, and zombies would spawn here, and if you eliminated them, you could get loot and, get shield. And it wasn't as annoying in 2018 because it was something you had to, opt into. If you had a game end here, that'd be super annoying, but for the most part, your game wasn't like drastically impacted the way it was in 2018. There was also an LTM where you could fight the Storm King, and if you did that LTM, you would be fighting on this, island that they added, so that was cool. I think this kind of annoyed some Save the World players because I think the Storm King is like the final boss or one of the final bosses of Save the World, so a lot of Save the World players were upset that like thing they had to work towards was just like turned into an LTM for BR for anyone to play. There was also a Halloween-themed gun game mode called Gunfight, I think, which was added for this event. Or not really added, it was a creative game mode that somebody made, but it was like featured for this event prominently. And this was before creative game modes were all over the UI, so having a creative game mode as like a selected thing right there was kind of new at the time. There was also jump scares. Sometimes the zombies would jump out of hiding spots like the porta potties, the dumpsters, the haystacks, those sorts of things that you can hide into. The zombies would jump out of them sometimes and attack you, but it would usually only be one zombie, so it wasn't that big of a deal. It was just kind of, a jump scare when it did happen. And then finally, there was Halloween decorations on the map. The pumpkin launcher replaced the RPG for the event, and then there was fog on the map as well. And that was basically it for this year's Fortnitemares. It was very lacking in content, which really fit with Chapter 2 Season 1 in general, but I kind of give it a break somewhat because 2018 Fortnitemares was so hated, and this was only a few weeks into Chapter 2. Chapter 2 Season 1 does get a lot of hate for lack of content, like I talked about, but a week or two in, it was still super exciting, and the map itself was still super new, so I kind of do give them somewhat of a pass for Fortnitemares 2019. For 2020, they went crazy. This was during Chapter 2 Season 4, which was a Marvel season. Everyone remembers this as like the Marvel-themed season because there were several Marvel POIs on the map, several, the Battle Pass was all Marvel, but this Fortnitemares event was entirely like original Fortnite content. It was the new Midas Revenge event, and when players were eliminated, they would respawn as a zombie, and then you would have to eliminate them again, and zombies could actually win the match, and if they were like the final living thing in the game, and you would get a Nightmare Royale. It was like a different end screen, not the normal Victory Royale screen, so basically everyone had 2 lives, but that second life was just as a zombie. Pretty crazy, very chaotic, and the Authority was turned into the Ruins POI, and Midas was back as Shadow Midas, and if you eliminated him, he would drop the Shadow Midas drum gun, which was basically just the Jules drum gun, which was a toned-down version of the Midas drum gun, but I think at the time it was pretty good because there wasn't many spray weapons in the game at the time. The Witch's Broom was added this season, which was a reskin of the Silver Surfer mythic, or if you've played in later seasons when we had Dragon Ball collabs, the Nimbus Cloud was basically the same thing as the Witch's Broom. If you've never played with any of these, you basically just activate it, your character launches into the sky, and then you can glide around and land, or you can just detach whenever you want and land and like kind of fall on people. You won't take fall damage if you use it. And that's even something that is rumored to return this year in 2023. The Halloween candy was also added this year, and you could get this from candy buckets, and these gave you effects like thermal vision, faster movement, low gravity effect, and they also, like, obviously all restored HP. And then there was Halloween decorations on the map, like always, the pumpkin launcher was back, and there was a Halloween mega store added outside Holly Hedges. So much better than 2019. I think Fortnitemares 2020 is remembered as one of the best Fortnitemares events ever in Fortnite. In 2021, they had the Wrath of the Cube Queen event, which added the Convergence POI in the center of the map, and this would continue to transform over the course of the season until it became the pyramid for the end of Chapter 2 live event. I think like cubes would travel across the map and kind of all roll towards the center POI and build up the pyramid. The Witch's Broom returned. There was a new Sideways Scythe weapon that you could get from fighting caretakers in the Sideways portals. These are like these big areas where you would go in, it would be marked on the map, and then it would be full of zombies. And zombies and caretakers, which were a new monster for this event, which was like a huge zombie. And if you cleared out the Sideways area, I think you would get special loot. I didn't really do it ever. I didn't think the Sideways weapons were very good. But you could also get parts from eliminating the zombies, which would be able to upgrade your Sideways weapons. But again, I don't know anyone who really liked using the Sideways weapons. They weren't really good, but you could clear those areas out and get loot for doing so. The jump scare zombies were back, the pumpkin launcher was back, Halloween decorations were back on the map, and all of that stuff returned for this event. The Horde Rush LTM was added, and this was basically just a mode where you would fight wave after wave of zombies, and then if you lasted long enough and eliminated all the bosses, you would complete the Horde Rush LTM. This returned later on and is rumored to return even again this year as like an LTM, but 2021 Fortnitemares was not the biggest deal, and it did kind of fit with the theme of Chapter 2 Season 8 with like the Cube Queen taking over the island and kind of filling the island with cubes, but overall it wasn't the biggest deal, I think, because a lot of it revolved around the Sideways stuff, which just wasn't very good, and it was kind of a nuisance in the middle of a game to go and deal with the Sideways area while also kind of dealing with real players, and then just like getting third-partied in the Sideways wasn't the greatest. 2022 was last year's Fortnitemares, and for this, we got Grim Gables, which was a new POI, which replaced the bottom part of Shifty. It was a huge house and like a cornfield area, and then there was a boss down in the bottom called the Inquisitor, and he would basically just light the entire house on fire. It was actually crazy fighting him. He would throw the fireflies everywhere and just launch RPGs, which was crazy. But when you eliminated him, you would get the Mythic Inquisitor's Suppressed SMG. He would also drop a pumpkin launcher and heals. There was a DJ area added to the Reality Tree and Howler Claw melee item, which was in the game briefly before being vaulted due to a bug. But you could get these by dancing at different altars, and then if you did that, you would get the Howler Claws. It had a melee attack, and then you could also howl to mark nearby enemies. But again, that wasn't the biggest deal, and this kind of fit with the overall theme of Chapter 3 Season 4, where it was like the cube kind of, or not the cube, sorry, the chrome taking over the island and kind of destroying everything. It just naturally kind of, this entire season was darkness themed with the chrome taking over the map, I feel like. But that was it for Fortnitemares 2022. It wasn't the biggest deal. A lot of players complained. After making this list, though, I don't think it was that bad. Like, the Grim Gables POI was fine. The Howler Claws being vaulted for most of the event, I think, is what turned a lot of people off to it. But there were also a few Halloween collabs like Evil Dead and Rick and Morty, which, again, like I said, I'm not going to focus too much on the cosmetics for this video. But those were there. Overall, it seems like 2020 and 2020, or 2018 and 2020 were the Fortnitemares they kind of went all out for when they had like the most content. And then some of the other Fortnitemares are pretty lacking, especially with Chapter 3 Season 4 being the end of Chapter 3, last year's Fortnitemares 2022. A lot of people felt like it was lacking in content just because we were so close to the end of the chapter. Hopefully this year's is different. Like I said at the start of the video, this year's Fortnitemares starts tomorrow as of the time I'm posting this, so we get to see what content gets added. There's been lots of leaks and rumors. I'll have a video linked down in the description below where I talk about the leaks for this year's Fortnitemares, but it definitely seems like it might be one of the best, or at least like the top half of Fortnitemares. But that is going to be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.